Everyone says you should know who your true friends are, but what if the friend you trusted most was rewriting your life, one small thing at a time? Our friendship started the way the best ones do. Late night talks that bled into sunrise. Secrets whispered like prayers in the dark. We shared everything. She knew the song my grandmother sang to me as a child, the one I'd never told anyone else. She was the keeper of my history, the other half of inside jokes that made no sense to the rest of the world. She was, for all intents and purposes, a part of me. That's what made the first oddity so easy to dismiss. It was a photograph, one of my favorites, of me and my dog from years ago. One day it was just different. The photo was the same, but my dog's collar was red instead of blue. I remember staring at it, a cold little knot forming in my stomach. I must have remembered it wrong, I told myself. Memory is a funny thing, isn't it? It plays tricks. A week later, my grandfather's watch, the one I kept in a velvet box on my dresser, turned up in my sock drawer. It was just lying there, nestled amongst my mismatched socks, as if it had always been there. And again, a tiny detail was wrong. A small scratch I knew was on the crystal face, right near the number 7, was gone. The watch was perfect, too perfect. Too perfect. I asked her about it, casually. Hey, did you happen to move my watch? She just laughed, that easy, familiar laugh. Why would I do that? You're getting so forgetful lately. Her smile was warm, reassuring, and for a little while, I believed her. I believed I was the one who was wrong, but the small things kept piling up, like little pebbles that eventually cause an avalanche. I'd come home to find the front door unlocked, even though I was certain I'd locked it. I'd find messages in my phone that I had typed, but never sent. Conversations I had no memory of starting. A strange, persistent feeling began to haunt me, a sense of being watched, of a presence just at the edge of my vision. It was like living in a house where the furniture was being moved by fractions of an inch every day. You don't notice it at first, but eventually, you're bumping into things in the dark in your own home. The geography of my life was shifting, and I was losing my bearings. The clues became more direct, more unsettling. I saved a voicemail from her, one where she'd pocket-dialed me. In the background, under the static and street noise, I could hear her humming. It was the song my grandmother used to sing. The melody was perfect, but the humming was hollow, an imitation without the soul. Then there were the little habits. I came into the kitchen one morning, exhausted, and she was there, a bright smile on her face. "Made you coffee?" she said, pushing a mug into my hands. I hate coffee. I've always hated coffee. She knew that. When I reminded her, her smile didn't waver. "Oh right, silly me. I just had a feeling you needed it today." She took the mug back, her movements smooth, practiced. It was in that moment that my unease, my suspicion, finally curdled into pure ice-cold dread. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was something else. The breaking point came one night. I woke up around 3 in the morning, a thirst pulling me from a restless sleep. When I stepped out of my bedroom, I froze. The entire house had been rearranged. My favorite armchair was now in the corner. The bookshelf was against the opposite wall, and the paintings were all swapped. It was my home, but it felt like a stranger's house. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But where would I go? I crept back to my room, my heart hammering against my ribs. I thought of her smile, and for the first time, it didn't look friendly in my memory. It looked predatory. It looked like a mask. I started noticing more. She began using phrases that were uniquely mine, little quirks of speech I'd had for years. It was like hearing an echo of myself from someone else's mouth. The paranoia was eating me alive. I had to know. I had to prove I wasn't losing my mind. So, I set a trap. I bought a small, intricately carved wooden bird, a one-of-a-kind piece from a little antique shop. I placed it on the mantelpiece, right in the center, where it couldn't be missed. Then, I bought a tiny voice-activated recorder and hid it behind a stack of books on the shelf opposite the fireplace. I told her I was going out of town for the weekend. I packed a bag, made a show of leaving, and then circled back, parking my car down the street where I could watch the house. I waited. Hours passed. Nothing. I was just about to give up, to accept that I was truly going mad, when her car pulled into the driveway. She went inside. I waited an hour, my hands shaking. Before I went to the door, I let myself in with my key. The house was silent. The air was thick, heavy. I walked into the living room. My eyes went straight to the mantelpiece. The wooden bird was gone. In its place was a nearly identical replica, but this one was flawless. The original had a tiny chip on its wing. This one was perfect. My blood ran cold. I walked over to the bookshelf and retrieved the recorder. My fingers fumbled with the tiny buttons. I pressed play. At first, there was only silence. Then, a soft humming. My grandmother's song. Then, her voice, but not her voice. It was my voice. Or, an attempt at it. It was practicing my laugh. The little hitch I have when I'm truly amused. It repeated my phrases, my intonations. "That's wild," the voice said, mimicking me. Then it faltered. The imitation slipped, and something else bled through. Something flatter, colder. The voice then spoke in her normal tone, calm, measured, and utterly terrifying. "I've been practicing you. The truth hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. She wasn't replacing my things. She was replacing my memories. She was studying me, learning me, not to be my friend, but to become me. I stumbled back, looking around the room. At this life she was systematically deconstructing and rebuilding. I ran to my phone, scrolling through pictures. There were photos of us, of me, but were they me? I didn't know anymore. And then I heard it. The playback on the recorder continued. I had stopped listening, but it was still going. Her voice, calm as ever, was speaking again. It's not about erasing you. It's about improving you. A better version can have the things you love, and no one will ever know the difference. They'll just be happier. I looked up from the recorder, and my eyes landed on a framed picture on the wall. It was a new one I hadn't seen before. It was me, at my recent birthday party, surrounded by friends, a huge smile on my face. I looked happy, blissful, even, but as I stared, I saw it. The eyes, they were my eyes, my color, my shape, but they were wrong. The light in them wasn't mine. The joy was hollow. It was a mask. She wasn't going to kill me. She wasn't going to erase me. She was going to step into my life, and everyone would welcome her with open arms, because she would be a better, happier, more perfect version of me, and I would be nothing, a ghost in my own story. The most dangerous betrayals are the quiet ones, the ones that don't announce themselves with a bang, but with a whisper, the ones where you hand over your trust, and that trust becomes an invitation for someone to walk in and take everything you are. You're left staring at a familiar face in the mirror, a face you no longer recognize as your own. If this chilled you to the bone, like and subscribe for more Inside the Anomaly Stories. And tell us in the comments, who would you trust if even your memories could be stolen? Thanks for watching.